Hello. Before I start with the actual content of this video, I always like to start off with a fun fact. I'm from Canada, so I was looking over the news, and did you know that Justin Bieber was caught stealing? I know, an absolutely crazy headline. Anyways, I just told you a lie. Blatantly. Justin Bieber went to jail before for the suspicion of drunk driving over a decade ago. But I fed you a lie. Now it's a light-hearted one because it was easily fact-checkable, not to mention that I told you I was lying. But what if it wasn't? What if what I said was not only believable, but spread around like fact, not a lie? What if that lie and all the others led to billions in economic losses and even violence in countries? What if I told you that misinformation is one of the biggest issues in current society and it results in exacerbated harms from all other global issues? Well, that's why I'm here. I want to share you my research in the impacts of misinformation. I can't read out everything, so I'm summarizing into a couple key areas of research I found. Otherwise, we'd be here for a long time. Firstly, what is misinformation? On the Cambridge Dictionary, misinformation is defined as false information given either by mistake or deliberately. In the 2025 book Misguided by Matthew Fashani, it agrees misinformation is any inaccurate, false, or misleading information given both intentionally and unintentionally. So, although misinformation and what you may know as another term, disinformation, are two different terms, most scholarly articles pair up mis and disinformation together. So, for the sake of keeping this presentation less confusing, just take it as disinformation being included with misinformation. So, how does misinformation start? Online misinformation starts from super spreaders or people who send large amounts of misinformation through social media, which also increases their reach and influence. Now, misinformed people sharing the false information continues its spread. Generally, people find that misinformation is found to be harmful. But to what extent? I'm going to break down some of misinformation's most significant harms. These will be to the economy, climate change, and public health. Let's start with the economy. The World Economic Forum in 2025 found that the spread of misinformation was ranked as one of the top global risks. In fact, SESI 22 finds that $78 billion is the total cost of misinformation and the spread of fake news in 2020. This is a significant amount of money, and it accounts for the spread of fake news in the financial, political, and healthcare fields. In addition, they find that misinformation, disinformation leads to some of the largest short-term risks and may fuel instability and undermine trust in the government, which also complicates the urgency for cooperation to address shared crises like the Sustainable Development Goals. The Council of Canadian Academies, 23, finds that in the example of in Canada in the healthcare system during COVID-19 in 2021, we saw losses of at least $300 million from misinformation. So it is very significant and the costs are drastic. Now let's talk about climate change. We know how important climate change is and how important it is to combat it. It's one of the biggest sustainable development goals. We see it all across the world on news outlets. However, misinformation, again, plays a key part in hindering us from combating climate change. For instance, we see a lot of climate misinformation. We see fake experts who don't have a lot of knowledge in the field, but through their messages, sway people and make people deny climate change. In addition, the misleading information about other international organizations like the UN and the World Health Organization impedes efforts to address global challenges like climate change. And even worse, this misinformation has led to decades of confusion about climate change and it stops collective action. So, if we want to combat climate change as a group of people, we can't do that if there's constant misinformation, constant denial of climate science. Now we can look to public health. Firstly, let's look in the aspect of vaccine hesitancy. In the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccine hesitancy in Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Guinea-Bissau, caused by widespread misinformation and conspiracy theories about the COVID-19 vaccine, led to vaccine hesitancy, the denial or even the existence of COVID-19, and it's led to a lot more deaths. And it's really important to combat misinformation in times of global health threats. Another regional example in communities you can include is in Minnesota, which found that efforts by health officials to explain that the measles vaccine was important was blocked out from people's perception that vaccines were bad for them. And in a 2017 large outbreak of measles, 91% of the infected people were unvaccinated, and it led to state and key public health partners spending an estimated $2.3 million in response. This is extra money that may not have needed to be spent if communities were aware that they were getting influenced by misinformation. Outside of vaccine misinformation, misinformation can also be used as political leverage. It can be used as a political weapon to control the flow of information and also recruit people to participate in political violence. So, in the previous political turmoil in Ghana, inaccurate information increased political tensions, and these misinformation campaigns led to higher tensions and even can provoke armed conflict. So, in countries like Cote d'Ivoire, political tensions stemmed from misinformation that led to violence and deaths. So, misinformation is seriously harmful. With all these statistics and findings on misinformation, are there plausible solutions to combating it? In the case of climate change, one possible strategy to decrease climate change misinformation is to label climate change denialism as misinformation. But at the same time, studies have also suggested that this could strengthen opposition rather than change their attitudes. Likewise, if you believe something is right for your entire life and someone says you're wrong, you might be more reinforced to believe that everyone else that's against you is just attacking you and that you're still in the right. But also, there's other options to flag accounts that spread misinformation, and this could also be effective on social media. But what may work best is for the individuals. If everyone worked towards fact checking new information, it would greatly limit the effect of misinformation. However, this also has its limitations, considering that not everyone has access to the internet, so the efficacy and efficiency of fact checking may be hindered. Still, as an individual, you have the ability to limit misinformation in your social bubble. Misinformation may be one of the most devastating global risks at this moment, but it's not unpreventable. Resolving other global issues like climate change, conflicts, and pandemics may start with searching for a solution to root causes like misinformation. We have the power to resolve so many global issues, but we need to do so through collective action. It's not impossible. And if we want to do something, we should try to act as soon as possible. Let's not miss the opportunity to stop misinformation. Thank you for listening, and I hope that it helped provide you more information on how dangerous misinformation is.